welcome back to the podcast. This is your host, the one and only Priscilla, and today we are discussing raising kids alone. You heard it. I said raising kids alone. A lot of people are out here raising kids alone, and it could be beneficial, um, to say the least, but it can also be detrimental to the production, or should I say, development of your children. So, with that being said, welcome each and every one of you, to all of my family. Welcome back to the podcast. And to all of my new listeners, let me go ahead and give you a round of applause just for showing up on today. All right, now that we got that out the way, go ahead and kick your feet up, grab your a glass of tea, whatever you're drinking on, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. This podcast will not be long. Unfortunately, I do have another appointment to make it to, but I wanted to go ahead and give y'all some vital information, especially if you are a single parent out here in this world. Okay, so being a single parent, it can be very challenging, but it is also an incredibly rewarding experience. Now, in this episode, I will be sharing some insights and tips on how to successfully navigate this journey. I was a single parent growing up. I had my first child at the age of 16. So you can only imagine, I was a baby having a baby. And it was a lot of things about parenting that I did not know. Thank God I had my mother, and then I had my kids' father's mother. They jumped in and they, helped me out. Oh my God, in more ways than I can even describe. It's like I really, literally, would not have made it without their help. And I know we can do all things through Christ, which strengthens us. But God give you physical people here on earth to help you out. All right, so the challenges of raising kids alone. Now, as a single parent, you may face a range of challenges, including financial strain, lack of support, and limited time and energy. I went through all of this. It can be tough to balance work, household responsibilities, and parenting duties without a partner's help. However, some strategies can help you overcome these hurdles, such as creating a budget, seeking outside resources and support groups, and prioritizing self care. Now, as a single parent, my tip would be, um, when I was growing up, I had my son at 16. I was still in high school. So my mom would keep my son while I was in school. And then once I made it to the 12th grade, the 11th grade, I was leaving work, excuse me, let me back up. I was leaving school, going to work, and my mom would have to keep my son, from the time I go to school until that evening when I get out from work. And then I would go home, I would have to feed him, bathe him, and then start the journey all over again the next day. It can be very overwhelming. But luckily for me, my mom would keep my son one weekend, and then my kid's father's mom would keep them the next weekend. So I never had my son on the weekends. And that was a blessing to me because I was still able to do, teenage things on the weekend. But Monday through Thursday, my mother duties were like in full swing. I never got a break. I was so overwhelmed. I was financially strained. I didn't feel like, the dad, he was alive and well at that time, and I didn't have much support from him. But his mother, she stepped in like Superwoman. And you already know how mothers can be. When you are a first time grandmother, oh my God, that child is so spoiled. Now, moving on, building a support system. You have to, think about um, who would be people that you would include in your support system? Is it a mom? Is it your dad? Is it friends? Is it classmates if you had your child young? Is it the aunties, the uncles? You need to form a support group. Now, one of the most critical factors in successfully raising kids alone is building a support system. This may include family members, friends, neighbors, and other single parents who can offer emotional support, practical advice, and assistance when needed. Now, connecting with others who understand your situation can definitely help reduce feelings of isolation and provide a sense of community. When I was growing up, luckily for me, there were other girls who had their babies at a young age, and so we kind of like fed off of each other, and we would always hang out and take our kids to the park, and just go walking with them in the strollers, just to like talk about how our week has been and the challenges that we were facing and the ups and downs of having the father um, being a part of the kid's life, the child's life. It's like some men wanted to be a part of their children's life, but then you have some men, they can care less. Like, for instance, um, I, I know people where the mom raised the child, but the dad was out living his life, had a whole new family, didn't reach out to try to spend time with the child that he had prior to the marriage or relationship he is currently in. And that's sad. I really think that kids need both parents to have a balanced life. Cause if I'm raising a boy, which I had my son, but thank God my mom was married, and her husband was like a father to my son, and my son kind of had like that manly guidance. But let's just say all the mothers that's out here raising sons, you cannot teach your son how to be a man. That's something that men should do in the household. And a lot of times we have kids out of wedlock, and that's what leads to single parent homes. My recommendation is to get married first and then start having kids. But when you unfortunately have kids outside of wedlock, then that's how you have so many kids out here rebellious, disobedient. I mean, like, they don't have no morals. And it's a lot, like I say, it's a lot being a single parent and being a baby, having a baby. It's like if I didn't have my mom and my grandmother and my kids' father's mother, I would have really struggled. But I was raised by my grandmother and grandfather who instilled morals and respect for your elders. They instilled all of this in me. And then I was made to go to church every single Sunday. So we didn't have an option. And so many households, I feel, they don't force their kids to go to church. The Bible says, for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So I just feel like when I was raising up my kids, we had to go to church because that's where I was, that's where my foundation in church. Like, I got my strength from church. There was so many church members that gave me sound advice. I mean, like spiritual advice, spiritual guidance. But I don't see how people raise kids without a father in the home, especially boys, and don't raise them up in the church. It's bad when the father is not there, but it's even worse when God is not a part of your household when you are a single parent. That's why there's so much crime and stuff going on in the world today, because a lot of kids are coming out of single parent households and the father is not there, discipline these kids. And then the mothers, they're trying to be friends with their kids. And that's not going to work. So I highly recommend highly recommend that you should not have kids out of wedlock. All right, moving on. Co parenting and communication. If your co parent is involved in your child's life, that's a key word. If your co parent is involved in your child's life, because, like I said, the key word is if. A lot of them are not involved, but if they are, effective communication and co parenting strategies are crucial. Co parenting involves working together to make important decisions about your child's upbringing and ensuring that they receive the care and support they need. Communication is key in co parenting, and finding ways to communicate effectively, such as through a parenting app or mediator, can help reduce conflict and build a healthy co parenting relationship. There's a lot of celebrities that are co parents with their children. There's a lot of regular people that's co parents. And a lot of times these women, and I'm just speaking from experience, a lot of times women will not allow their child to be with the absent parent if he is in a relationship with another woman. And I've never been that type of woman. I used to tell my kid's father, who is deceased, he was murdered at the age of 24. He was buried on his birthday. So I used to tell him, I don't care who you date, as long as they do not abuse my child, you can come get this child and take that child over to your house with her, as long as my child is not being mistreated. A lot of women are so immature in this. And the reason why I say that is because you rob your child or children of a relationship with that absent parent. Why would you tell your child he doesn't want anything to do with you, but the truth be told, you're preventing him from seeing that child just because he's no longer in a relationship with you? That doesn't make sense. Like, why would you stop a man from being with his children just because he decided to move on and he decided not to marry you? That's the worst thing you can do. My kid's father, he was murdered when my son was almost 5 years old. And then my daughter, who is from the same man, she was almost 2 years old. So here, well, actually, my son was almost six, and my daughter was almost two because they're 4 years apart. But he was murdered, and the sad thing is, all my son has is those small memories that he created with his dad, how they used to play the game together, and how he used to come pick him up and ride him around in the car. Obviously, my daughter doesn't remember him because she was under 2 years old when he passed away. And that's so unfortunate because a lot of women, you don't realize that no second, minute, or hour is promised to any one of us. God can come and take your kid's father, or you for that matter, at any point. And then let's just say you're the type of mom, you don't let your kid's father spend time with the kids for all of these dumb reasons that has nothing to do with the child. And then when he, just say God called him home, he passed away, now you have all this guilt and your child may grow up resenting you. So my recommendation is figure out how to respectfully be co-parents with the with each other. Learn how to respect each other and realize this is not about you. This is not about the absent parent. This is all about that child. You do not want to raise your child without the father. I'm telling you what I know. Okay, moving along. Raising kids alone is not always easy, but it is possible to thrive as a single parent with the right mindset, resources, and support system. You got to remember to prioritize self care, build a support system, and communicate effectively with your co parent if applicable. We hope and pray that moving forward, after listening to this episode, if you have any beef or resentment towards the father of your child, that you drop the beef, drop the immature bickering, and come together so you can raise your child effectively. There's nothing better than a child coming out of a two-parent household. I will say this until I am blue in the face. Being a single parent is not easy. But like I just said, your mindset, you got to have the right mindset. You got to move self out of the way. When it comes to your child or your children, this is not about you. There are so many sacrifices I made for my children growing up. There are so many things that I wanted to do, but I couldn't do or didn't allow myself to do because of the self respect that I had for myself. Also, I wanted my children to be raised in a godly household. I did not want my kids to experience some of the things that I had to go through. So, with that being said, I hope and pray that each and every one of you, you learn and agree to disagree with the absent parent so your child can have the substance that they need to thrive in this world. It takes two. I love that song. It takes two, baby. Me and you. It takes two. You cannot raise kids effectively without the other person. Y'all stay blessed. I pray that this episode touched your heart. I pray that it helped you to change your mindset. And I pray until next time that you stay safe and download a parenting app. If you are a single parent, those parenting apps really do help out. They do provide a lot of resources and a lot of helpful tips for you to raise your children the right way. And you got to keep God first in your household, especially if you are a single parent household, because you don't want your kids to turn out corrupted. Until next time, y'all stay blessed, stay prayed up, and as I always say, keep God first. Thanks for tuning in.